So this week we're talking about processing emotions away from your child when they come out as being transgender. First of all, I want to tell you that if you are feeling some way about your child coming out as transgender, it's normal and you are okay. Nobody told me that when Leo came out as transgender because I didn't have anybody to ask. I didn't know anybody who had a child who was transgender. And 6 years ago, there wasn't really anybody writing about it on the internet. You would Google transgender, having a transgender child, whatever the thing was, and what the internet told you is that you were supposed to love and support your child, which I did, but the internet didn't tell you that you might feel sad or lonely or confused or overwhelmed or all of these things. It does now because I write about it, but it didn't then. And so I was like, what do I do about all these emotions? Who am I supposed to talk to? Where am I supposed to find some help? What am I supposed to do with all of this stuff that I'm feeling? So I knew two things for sure. I wasn't going to be talking to it about with my son, and I wasn't going to be talking with it about my husband. And before you think, hey, you probably should have talked about it with your husband, here's what I know after being married to my husband for almost 27 years. My husband is a very slow processor. And if you are in a relationship with a slow processor, sometimes they need time to think about a thing and to be able to understand it and understand how they feel about a thing, right? I didn't always know that about my husband. And so here's me, and all of a sudden I have something in my life that's happened or news or information, and I want to talk about it and I want to explore it. Or all of a sudden I've learned my son is transgender and I need to learn about it and talk about it. And what do you think about it, right? It's the question I want to ask my husband, except for my husband doesn't know what he thinks about it yet because he hasn't had time to sit and figure it out yet. So maybe you have all these feelings and you don't know what to do with them yet. And so where do you go and how do you deal with them? Well, it depends. Are you in a house with or without your child? I was in a house without my child, except for that first week, which was tricky because that first week I felt all the things. And so I had to get out of the house, right? Or I had to find places in my house where my son was not. So like the shower. Or I could go to my bedroom. Or I could go for a walk and be by myself. I also work out of the house. And so I found the car to be a very helpful place to be processing my feelings. The car was tricky a lot in that first year because the radio would come on, and which inevitably would play like songs that would make me cry. But crying also helps you to release stress and emotions out of your body, which helps you to complete the stress cycle. So that's not always a bad thing, right? So the car was a good place. I could call my friends or somebody who I could talk to in the privacy of my car and not have to worry about who was listening. Like I couldn't do that at home, which a walk was also helpful for that. Or I could go on a walk with my friend or neighbor and be out of the listening ears of my child who I didn't want to overhear conversations, not because we were talking anything bad about him, but because I needed to talk about how I was feeling, and I didn't want him to hear how I was feeling, because that was my stuff to work through without having him to have to worry about how I was feeling. So those could be some suggestions for you. If you have your child at home as a way to get to be someplace away from your child, so that you can do some processing of your feelings without having to worry that they're going to overhear you, because you should not be processing how you feel within earshot of your child, right? Because that's your journey, not theirs. It's your work to figure out how you're feeling, and to work through that. And your job with them is to be loving and supportive and to make sure that that's the message that they're hearing, and not that you're struggling in any way. Not that if you're feeling sad or confused or whatever the thing is, that you don't understand this, that, or whatever. And it's fine for you to feel those things. Like, it doesn't make you a bad person or not supportive, or it doesn't mean that you don't love your child to have those feelings. It just means that you need to work through those on your own, and your child needs to not be a part of that, right? And I think that those of us that have older children, teenagers or young adults, they know. It's not like they don't know that we have those feelings. They're not dumb, right? My son knew that I was struggling with some stuff. It's just he didn't need to hear about it. I didn't need to talk to him about it. I didn't need to tell him, hey, like, I don't, this is really hard for me. Like, he's not a fool. I think he knew that, parts of his coming out were really hard for me. And he reads my writing. Like, he could go on, when I started writing about it eventually, I didn't right away, he could go right on my website and he could see the things that I was writing about and put two and two together and know, gee, this must have been really hard for my mom. And then I've written long form writing about my experience with him coming out, and he has read that also. So there's like, you just have to figure out, like, what's the best way for you to process, who are safe people that you can talk to. Sometimes it really helps to have a trained professional to work through your feelings with. Like I said it before, I have a therapist who I've been seeing for 7 years, so since before Leo came out, but I'm pretty sure my time with her probably would have ended sooner. I mean, I'm still with her, but like, we may have, maybe not, I don't know. We might have ended our time already had Leo not come out as transgender. That was a big chunk of what we talked about for some time in those earlier years. And then just know that you're okay and your child is okay, and it's okay to have your emotions. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the box. And I need to stop talking because Instagram's gonna cut my video off and not let it upload. And I'll be back here again next week. Okay, bye.